Martin Zender coming to you with my unkempt hair and my winning personality intact. Yes, never to be assailed, never to be squashed, but thriving here. The real Martin Zender, the real person, not a fake version, not a polished version, but the real me, coming to you once again from, of all places, a laundry room. But it pleases God to do this. Now, I'm going to finish with the Laodiceans, as I intended to, probably Friday, maybe. It's been a long time, and I've gotten on sidetracks. I'm not wearing horizontal stripes today. This is a good thing, so I should be in my right mind. I'm wearing a plain white shirt, and so in this state of dress and with this attitude, I shall proceed. Revelation chapter 3. The last we heard about the Laodiceans is that they were lukewarm and that they were going to be spit out of the mouth of God if they didn't make a stand, if they didn't land on one side of the fence or the other. Land for the love of God. Be right or be wrong, do something. And then they said that they were rich. They said that they had become something. They said that they had need of nothing. And because of that, it had to be told them, excuse me, but if you can just stop preening for a second and get off your soapbox, and let me tell you this, that actually you are wretched, forlorn, poor, blind, and naked. But now I have some advice to you, says Jesus, for these self-sufficient Laodiceans, and here it is. I am advising you to buy of me gold refined by the fire, that you should be rich, and white garments, that you may be clothed, and the shame of your nakedness may not be made manifest, and eye salve to anoint your eyes, that you may be observing. So here, in the same context where the accusation is made, where the revelation comes, like, got news for you, you're nothing. Okay? And this takes a great shaking and a great breaking. Now, though, nobody can accuse Jesus Christ of saying, yeah, you stated the problem, but what's your solution, right? Anytime anybody complains, as like I said, all you can do is complain. Why don't you offer a solution? All right, here's your solution from Jesus Christ. Buy of me gold refined by the fire. Now, once again, this is gold that is not appearing as gold. We know Paul says to us that our trials, our many sufferings are working for us an Ionian burden of glory at our not observing what is happening, but looking afar off toward what is coming. And so those things which seem to be beating you down today, we're to buy those things now. Nobody recognizes what God is offering here as treasure. It's gold refined by fire. But remember, in the book of Revelation and in life today, nothing is as it appears. And so the gold that we're to buy, the gold that they're to buy, is not gold that people are standing in line for. It's trials, it's sufferings. Even Paul says, by many sufferings we enter into the kingdom of God. For the Jews, it's earth. For us, it's celestials. It's still a kingdom, generically speaking. And so we buy up stock. And the stock is not appearing as stock. It's like the example I always give, buying Microsoft stock in 1974. It looks like worthless, or Apple stock. What is this? A company with an apple for a logo? Sounds ridiculous. I don't want any of this. And yet smart people said, I'm buying this up at, 10 cents a share or whatever. These people are multimillionaires and billionaires today. And so when we buy up the stock of suffering, which is gold refined by fire, it's been touched by the fire. And as we go through these trials, it is as though we're being burned up. This is a valuable commodity that we will be able to trade for great wealth, for thousands of dollars on the penny, thousands of dollars in return on the penny of investment. Paul says our trials are not, the glory, he says, is not worthy to be compared. No, the evils, the trials, yet. Trials are not worthy to be compared to the glory. And you probably haven't heard me say this lately. I'll say it now. I often get upset and kind of like, God, come on. This realm we're going into is full of glory, full of greatness, the celestial realm, and you give us so little of an indication of what it's like. I really need to find this verse. Romans 8:18. For I am reckoning that the sufferings, that's the specific word Paul uses. This is why I wanted to go directly to the verse. I did not want to paraphrase this. It's too important of a verse. I'm reckoning that the sufferings of the current era do not deserve the glory about to be revealed for us. Do not deserve the glory. Other versions say cannot be compared to. It's the same type thing. Doesn't deserve to even stand next to it. Doesn't deserve to be mentioned in the same sentence as it, because the glory so outweighs the suffering. And so I get upset. Why don't we have a detailed enough picture of the measure of the glory? But we do. But we have it in a negative image sort of way. You have to make the transition. You have to make the calculation in your mind. Here's how you do it. You look at the suffering and you look at the weight of the suffering. And many of you have said this, Lord, okay, I got the message already. I understand contrast. I got it. It's enough. Why are you keep adding more? It's becoming weighty. It's weighing me down. I can barely get off the ground. I can barely get out of bed. I have a shred of faith left. What are you trying to do? Snuff out everything? You're killing me here, kid. You're killing me. But Paul says that the sufferings of the current era don't even deserve to stand next to the glory. This is a scientific formula. This is a formula. God is giving us a measure of the glory. He's doing it by giving us an seemingly overwhelming burden of suffering. And then he gives us a key verse, which is a formula saying, okay, you feel this suffering, you feel how heavy it is? Okay, the glory that I have prepared for you is not even worthy to be compared to the suffering. It can't even stand next to it. So high is it, so beyond the suffering is it, that Paul in another place calls our suffering light and the glory burdensome. 2 Corinthians 4:17, for the momentary lightness of our affliction is producing for us, like you're turning in your stock, is producing for us a transcendent Aeonian burden of glory. Transcendently transcendent. This is one of those weird cases where a word is used twice right next to each other. Paul is basically out of adjectives to describe the weight of glory that's coming. So he repeats one. It's transcendently transcendent. That's ridiculous redundancy. Paul's out of words. It's stupendously stupendous. It's greatly great. It's magnificently magnificent. It's really too much of a too much. It's too much of too much. This is crazy talk from a man who is out of words. So he repeats them to describe the coming glory. But the thing is he says that it's producing for us a transcendent Aeonian burden of glory. So he calls the glory burdensome and the afflictions light. The lightness of our afflictions. This is a guy who, in this very book, 2 Corinthians, that was 4:17, I think in chapter 8, he talks about all his afflictions. Beaten by the Jews, beaten with rods in Philippi, shipwrecked, in danger of robbers, in dangers of my own countrymen. You know Paul's trials. Solicitude for the ecclesias. And it's a burden. And at one point, they're despairing of life. He says, we're despairing of life. We're cast down. We're down, but not out. We're afflicted, but we're not, dead yet. We're still swinging. Like that guy in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Keeps getting a limb cut off. And he goes, is that all you got? Bring it on. He keeps cuts off his other arm. The guy's still fighting. Well, okay. That seemed to be burdensome. But Paul says, no, the glory is burdensome because it's not worthy to be compared. Romans 8:18, 2 Corinthians 4:17. These are two verses you can put together that will give you a picture. It's a key. It's an opening for us to understand the glory in relation to the suffering and the trial. God is giving you a picture of the glory. As heavy as your trials feel, it's a penny of investment. And for every penny of suffering you have, and maybe you've feel like you've amassed $100 worth, I don't know how many pennies that is. I can't do math. 1,000,000. Maybe you feel like you've amassed $100 worth of suffering, 1 penny at a time. Every penny you have can be returned, can be turned in for $1 million of glory. That's every penny. So however many pennies it takes to make $100, multiply that number times 1 million. And when you see the glory, when you finally come into it, when we come into it, we're going to wish we had bought more stock. My God, we're going to look back and say, why did we resist? Why did we writhe so hard under the trials? Because, man, look what it produced for us. Lord, send me back. I want to go back. And look, if we could go back, well, if we could go back to 1974, talk to Steve Jobs, find out where that Apple stock is getting sold. Yeah, I guarantee you we would all go buy it. Lord, send me back to 1974 or 75 or whatever. Yeah, I want to make some investments. Wouldn't that be fun? You know, they got into some of these themes on the movie Back to the Future. A guy found a book, you know, on all the winning horse races. He goes back before the races and bets on the horses, and he's going to win. That'd be great, right? Okay, so this is what we're going to want to do once we see the glory. We're going to want to go back and say, I wish I could get more trials so that I could get this reward, all this great reward. Okay, well, this is like a Scrooge thing, right? It's like you're being visited by the ghost of Christmas future. Now I'm telling you, you're still not dead. Or It's a Wonderful Life. You see what life could be. Now you have the blessing. Now it's not over yet. You're still here. You can still not screw it up. You can still now appreciate this key, that your glory will be exceedingly beyond great compared to the trials. So now I want you to maybe at least rest a little bit in your trials. At least realize that God is doing this for you, not to you. See, and he's doing as much as you can take, because he knows you're buying up cheap stock, and the reward is going to be ridiculous. So he's pushing you against the wall, but he's not going to push you beyond what you can endure. So the more you can endure, the more he's going to push you, because he's doing you a huge favor. It's like he's saying to you, come on, let me do this. You're going to thank me. You won't believe how you're going to thank me. It's like somebody forcing you to buy Microsoft stock back then. They're forcing you to. It's like, I don't really want to buy it. I don't have that much money. Dude, please. That $100 that you were going to, spend on groceries this week, just trust me, honestly, put it in Microsoft stock. Please do it. And all right, I'll do it. But if the guy could be pushed for 200, then he'd be pushing for 200. If he could be pushed for 1,000, dude, I know you're going to spend $1,000 on your wife's, and that new ring for your wife, but this is much better, I'm telling you. So God is constantly pushing us against the wall of our endurance, and he's doing us a great favor, and we're squirming. And God says, if you could just take another inch, please, I'm going to give you another inch, another penny of suffering. How much more can I take? That's exactly what God is asking. How much more can this person take? Oh, they can take one more trial. No, they can take 1.5 more trials. He's going to give you 1.5 more trials, because when you see the glory results from it, you're going to go, God, thank you for pushing me. You're so nice. How many kids thank their parents today for pushing them into piano lessons? That's the piano lessons. The kid, you must go to piano lessons. No, I hate it, or voice lessons or whatever. And the parent makes you do it. And then in your later life, you can impress people by playing wonderful things on the piano or doing backflips in the living room because your parents pushed you in gymnastics. You go, thank you. I'm the life of the party because I can do cartwheels in front of all my friends on New Year's Eve. This is your parents pushing you. Now, God is the ultimate parent. He has your good in mind, and he's pushing you. So he's doing it for you, not to you. So as you're squirming, try, if you can, to thank him.